From the Ohio AgNet Voice You Know at the News You Trust studio, sponsored by Grain Equipment Company, where innovation meets execution, I'm Joel Norwood with a look at your farm news this Tuesday. USDA has launched a national milk testing strategy looking to monitor H5N1 in U.S. dairy herds. Unpasteurized milk samples will now be tested nationwide under a federal order requiring cooperation from dairy farms, transporters, and labs. It'll start at the processor level and then, when detected, narrow the source of milk down from there to the farm level. Julia Gother is with the Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service.
Stage 1 starts with monitoring the large tanks, silos at milk processing facilities. We'll be asking dairy regulators, dairy inspectors to sample milk at these processing facilities from each silo that contains milk intended for pasteurization, a screening stage that we want to put in place all across the country. Stage 2 is something that a state can decide to use to fast track them to demonstrate unaffected status or identify that state as being affected with this virus in their dairy herd. They're also putting in measures to respond quickly and prevent movement of that virus to other herds while that dairy is recovering from the infection. Once a state has conducted enough significant testing to demonstrate that there is no virus present, then they can be moved to an unaffected status. Once we get all the states in the country at stage 4, we can conduct at least 90 days of surveillance in order to demonstrate to the world that the U.S. is free of this virus in dairy herds.
In trade news, the European Union has reached a major agreement with Brazil, Argentina, and the 3 other nations that make up the Mercosur trade alliance. That ends 25 years of negotiations. It could create one of the largest free trade zones, benefiting businesses with reduced duties and tariffs, but critics say they have concerns over farmer competition and environmental impacts. U.S. red meat exports have gone up in October, with beef exports up 1% in volume and 3% in value, reaching $860.4 million. Pork exports increased 3% in both volume and value, with 2024 expected to set a record high, surpassing 3 million metric tons. And lastly, the U.S. Grains Council has released their corn harvest quality report. Says this year's was the 3rd largest corn crop on record, and they're boasting the highest 100 kernel weight, reduced damage, and excellent quality, with 96% meeting grade factor requirements for U.S. number 2 corn. Rainy but fairly bearable temperatures out there today. That's not to last as we check in with the ag weather forecast.
Colder air on the move in the northern plains. That spells a cold midweek for Ohio. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin with a look at the Ohio Ag Weather Update. Quick look here. For the rest of this afternoon, still dealing with some hit-and-miss scattered showers over southeastern parts of the state. Meanwhile, we've got clouds and sun in the northwest. Colder air is going to really start to force its way in overnight tonight. Brutally cold for tomorrow, Thursday, and early Friday. Strong winds creating low wind chills, also creating some lake effect potential. Most of us just seeing clouds off the Great Lakes, but near the lake shore, of course, Lake Erie, we'll see some lake effect snow with accumulations. Be prepared for that. I cannot stress enough the magnitude of the shift in temperatures. Brutal cold air here, below zero pushes Wednesday and Thursday nights. I'm meteorologist Ryan Martin.
Thanks, Ryan. More online at ohioagdat.com, the full in-depth weather commentary there. And this update brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance. Online at seedconsultants.com. On the livestock side, the big question on the minds of many cattle producers is, when will this beef price high come to an end, and what's 2025 to hold? Well, Lance Zimmerman is senior beef analyst at Bravo Research, tells us consumers are paying record high beef prices right now.
The good news is, if you think about it from a grocery basket perspective, general food inflation, general inflation for all meat and poultry items has been a lot more manageable than overall inflation. And so as we navigate that going forward, beef prices are going to continue to inch higher. And so the burden's going to exist on the beef industry to continue to be expensive but worth it, making sure that in the minds of the consumer they can justify that higher price point.
And other good news for beef consumers, as beef processing grants rose sharply after COVID, and we're starting to see the impact.
We'll invest in more packing infrastructure. So we saw a lot of USDA grants, a lot of State Department of Ag grants to add more capacity. We're still working through some of that additional capacity today. We're going to continue to add capacity the next couple years.
That's Lance Zimmerman of Bravo Research talking about those high beef markets we've been seeing the last couple of years, and leads us nicely into our market segment. Let's see what's driving markets today, thanks to Brandt, helping growers take control for over 70 years. Here's Doug Tenney with Lice Mercantile.
I'm Doug Tenney with Lice Mercantile, providing you with numbers beyond the U.S. Corn and soybean plantings are virtually complete in Brazil. Focusing on weather events, has southern Sao Paulo receiving 3 to 7 inches of rain this past week. Local amounts in the western half of Paraná reaching as much as 12.5 inches. Today, in a few short hours, the monthly USDA WASDE report will take place at noon Eastern Time, most likely a small increase for U.S. corn exports, and even a remote chance of corn for ethanol increasing slightly. Please visit our website at licensmercantile.com to learn more about our grain marketing program and crop insurance services.
Thanks, Doug. Over to market prices in Chicago. Corn up a penny to $4.35 for December. March corn up half a cent to $4.42 1/4. Jan beans up 8 1/4 to $9.98 1/4 per bushel, with March beans at $10.03 1/4, marching up 7 3/4 cents. July wheat up 3 pennies to $5.76 1/4. Markets brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance. Online at seedconsultants.com. December live cattle a 73-cent gain to $188.53. February cattle up $1.18 to $188.20, while December hogs 28 cents higher to $83.18, and milk falling today for January down 20 cents to $19.17 in Class 3. This is the Ohio AgDat.